The night my father told me we'd hit $10 million, I should have embraced him and celebrated the miracle that had fallen into our lives. Instead, I became the worst kind of son. I ripped that lottery ticket from his hands, shoved the man who raised me into the freezing rain, and snarled the words that would destroy us both. "It's over for you, old man. This is mine now." And I believed I was securing my children's future. I was actually signing my own death warrant as a human being. What I lost that night was worth infinitely more than any lottery jackpot. Before I tell you how that one night destroyed everything I held dear, drop a comment and let me know. Are you watching this from a place where family still matters to you? Because what I'm about to share might change how you see the people you love. My name is Nathan Cross, and this is the story of how greed turned me into a stranger to myself. It was a cold March evening in Ohio when everything unraveled. The kind of night where the wind cuts through your jacket and reminds you that winter isn't quite done with you yet. I was sitting at my kitchen table, surrounded by a mountain of bills that seemed to grow taller every week. The mortgage notice was printed in that aggressive red ink they use when they really want your attention. Past due. Final notice. The electric company wasn't far behind. Melody was in the living room, helping 7-year-old Cole with his math homework, while 5-year-old Jude built something elaborate with his Legos on the carpet. The sound of their voices should have been comforting, but all I could hear was the ticking clock of our financial ruin. 8 months unemployed will do that to a man. 8 months of watching your savings evaporate, your credit score plummet, and your wife's smile become a little more forced each day. The layoffs at the manufacturing plant had hit everyone hard, but some of us harder than others. Some guys found new jobs within a month. Some had family money to fall back on. Me, I had pride and a mortgage I couldn't afford, which turned out to be a pretty useless combination. That's when Dad showed up at my door. Harold Cross had always been a creature of habit. 68 years old, retired from driving city buses for 32 years, and still built like the high school linebacker he'd been back in 1974. He had this way of carrying himself that made you think he'd never encountered a problem he couldn't handle with patience and elbow grease. Dad was the kind of man who kept receipts organized in manila folders and could tell you exactly where he'd been at any given time on any given day. "It's got something to tell you, son," he said, unwrapping his scarf with the same methodical care he applied to everything. His cheeks were red from the cold, and his eyes had this sparkle I hadn't seen in years. Melody looked up from Cole's homework. "Hi, Harold. Coffee?" "No thanks, dear. This won't take long." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small slip of paper. A lottery ticket. Checked the numbers 3 times. Had Carla at the depot check them too. I barely looked up from the bills. Dad bought lottery tickets like other people bought newspapers. Every week, same numbers, same routine. I'd stopped paying attention to his little gambling habit years ago. "Well, that's nice, Dad." I said, not really listening. I was too busy calculating whether I could stretch our grocery budget another week. "Nathan." His voice had this quality to it, like he was trying to contain something big. "Son, we hit." It hit what? $10 million. The words hung in the air like smoke. Melody's pen stopped moving across Cole's worksheet. Even Jude looked up from his Legos. "What did you say?" I asked, finally giving him my full attention. Dad set the ticket on my kitchen table right next to the mortgage notice. The numbers were there in black and white, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. The bills, the stress, the sleepless nights worrying about how I'd provide for my family, it all seemed to fade into background noise. But as I stared at that small piece of paper, something dark stirred in my chest. Not joy, not relief, something else entirely. Looking at that tiny slip of paper, I didn't see celebration. I only saw escape. That word, escape, echoed in my head like a prayer I'd been too proud to say. For 8 months, I'd been drowning in slow motion, watching everything slip away one unpaid bill at a time. And now sitting right there between the mortgage notice and my son's crayon drawing was salvation. But it wasn't mine. Dad was 68. He had his pension, his little apartment, his simple routine. What did he need $10 million for? Meanwhile, I had a family to save, a house about to be foreclosed on, and kids who deserve better than watching their father fail. The moment crystallized when Cole looked up from his homework. "Daddy, are we rich now?" His 7-year-old eyes were so full of hope, it hurt. Well, Dad started, his voice warm with grandfatherly pride. "I suppose this changes things for all of us." That's when something inside me snapped. 8 months of rejection letters. 8 months of watching Melody clip coupons and pretend she wasn't worried. 8 months of lying awake, calculating how long we could keep the lights on. Actually, Dad, I heard myself saying, I think there's been a misunderstanding. He looked at me with those trusting brown eyes. What do you mean, son? I reached for the ticket. You bought this for the family, right? You used the money I gave you last week. Nathan, I bought this with my own. Dad, you're getting older. Sometimes memory plays tricks. The lies came so easily, it scared me. Maybe you should let me handle this. Son, what are you doing? What I was doing was saving my family. What I was doing was making sure my boys didn't grow up poor. At least that's what I told myself as I grabbed the ticket. Nathan? Melody's voice cut through the kitchen, but I was already moving. Dad reached for the ticket, his weathered hands shaking. Son, please! I yanked it away harder than I meant to. He stumbled backward against the counter. It's over for you, old man. This is mine now. The look on his face, I'll carry that look to my grave. It wasn't anger. It was disappointment so deep, it seemed to age him 10 years and 10 seconds. Nathan, stop. Melody was on her feet, Cole and Jude staring in wide-eyed confusion. But I couldn't stop. The ticket was in my hand and with it, our future. Get out, I said, my voice low and dangerous. Get out of my house. This is your son, he said quietly to Melody. This isn't who you raised him to be. That's when I pushed him. Not hard, not violent, just enough to move him toward the door, toward the cold March night where rain had started to fall in thick, heavy drops. He looked back at me once from the doorway, rain already darkening his gray hair, and I saw something die in his eyes. Not hope, not love, trust. The trust of a father who had never imagined his son could become a stranger. I closed the door and turned the lock. The house fell silent, except for the rain against the windows and my own ragged breathing. In my hand, the lottery ticket felt heavier than it should have. The door closed behind him, and with it, everything I'd ever known about who I was. Morning light filtered through the kitchen blinds, and for the first time in 8 months, I woke up without that familiar knot of anxiety in my stomach. The lottery ticket sat in my wallet like a golden key, and everything felt manageable, fixed. I spread the bills across the kitchen table and started doing math that actually made sense. Mortgage paid in full, credit cards wiped clean, the kids' college funds fully loaded. $10 million meant freedom. You seem different this morning, Melody said, pouring coffee with careful movements. She'd barely spoken to me since last night. Things are going to change, Mel. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling Patterson about that truck. Maybe we should look at houses in Westfield too. Hey, Nathan, about last night. Dad will understand. I cut her off. Once he sees what this means for Cole and Jude, he'll get it. The lie came so easily I almost believed it. I dialed Patterson's dealership first. Hey, Jim, Nathan Cross, that F-150 we talked about, I'm ready to make a deal. What changed your mind about financing ours? Let's just say my situation improved overnight. I'll be paying cash. The words felt powerful. Cash. When was the last time I'd paid cash for anything? Next First National. Hi, this is Nathan Cross. I'd like to discuss paying off my home loan. In full. This week. Melody stared at me, her expression unreadable. Cole wandered in, wearing Batman pajamas. Dad, where's Grandpa? He usually makes pancakes on Saturday. The question hit like cold water, but I recovered quickly. Grandpa had to go home early, buddy. Maybe next weekend. But he left his scarf. Jude added, appearing with Dad's gray wool scarf. It was on the porch. I took the scarf and hung it on a chair, ignoring how it still smelled like his aftershave. I'll get it back to him. Can we call him? Cole asked. I want to tell him about my spelling test. Later, son, Grandpa's probably busy. The boys accepted this with easy trust, but I caught Melody's look. She knew something wasn't right. But I had a family to protect, responsibilities that Dad living alone in his quiet apartment couldn't understand. This wasn't just about money. It was about security, about giving my boys the childhood I'd never had. I deserved this more than he did. I needed it more than he did. That afternoon, I sat in my home office and made lists. Real estate agents, investment advisors, vacation destinations, everything was falling into place. For the first time since the layoffs, I felt like the man of the house again, the provider, the one with the plan. Everything was under control. I slept soundly that night. I had no idea the storm was already building. The call came Tuesday morning while I was reviewing college brochures for Cole. The future had never looked brighter. Mr. Cross. This is Jim Patterson from Patterson Ford. Jim, perfect timing. I was about to finalize that F-150 purchase. Uncomfortable pause. That's actually why I'm calling. We've hit a snag with your payment. Cold prickle down my spine. What kind of snag? Our finance department got a notice this morning. Administrative hold from the State Lottery Commission. They're saying there's a dispute over ownership of the winning ticket. The words hit like a physical blow. That's impossible. I'm just telling you what they told me. Until this gets cleared up, we can't accept payments tied to those lottery funds. The line went dead. I stared at the phone like it had betrayed me. Dad was 78, living on a pension. What could he possibly do? And I dialed the Lottery Commission immediately. State Lottery Commission Agent Martinez. It's a Nathan Cross. Why is there a hold on my winning ticket? We received a formal dispute yesterday regarding ownership. All disbursements are frozen pending investigation. Investigation? The ticket is mine. Sir, we have documentation suggesting otherwise. Receipts, timestamps, witness statements. Very thorough submission. Receipts, timestamps, witness statements. Dad, how long does this take? 2 weeks to 6 months, depending on evidence complexity. 6 months? 6 months of bills, piling up promises. I couldn't keep everything slipping away again. I hung up in stunned silence. The college brochures mocked me from the table. Nathan Melody appeared face pale. What's wrong? Dad filed a dispute. He's trying to steal our future. Our future, her voice rose. Nathan, I told you this was wrong. Don't you dare side with him. I'm not siding with anyone. I'm trying to save our family. But I wasn't listening. Dad thought he could outmaneuver me with receipts and timestamps. He thought 32 years of bus driving taught him how to fight. He had no idea what desperation could do. He's trying to destroy us, Mel. Our kid's future's everything. Maybe we should just... No, my voice was steel. I won't let him take this from Cole and Jude. I grabbed my jacket. Dad wanted to play games with lawyers and paperwork fine. But he'd forgotten something I had everything to lose, and that made me dangerous. If he wanted to fight, I'd show him what fighting really looked like. The Quick Mart on 5th Street had been Dad's regular stop for as long as I could remember. Every Tuesday and Friday, same routine. Now, I was counting on that familiarity to save me. The bell chimed as I walked in, and Reggie looked up from behind the counter. Stocky guy in his 30s who remembered every regular customer. Hey there, Nathan. Haven't seen you in a while. How's your dad doing? The innocent question hit like a slap, but I forced a smile. Actually, that's why I'm here. I approached the counter, heart hammering. You remember last Friday night when Dad bought his lottery ticket? Sure do. Harold comes in like clockwork. Right, but there's been confusion about who actually signed that ticket. You know how Dad's memory has been lately. Reggie's expression flickered. His memory, Harold's sharp as a tack. Oh, see, that's where you're wrong. I was there that night. I'm the one who signed the back of that ticket. Reggie straightened up, his eyes narrowing. Nathan, I was working that register. I saw your dad sign that ticket himself. Clear as day. My chest tightened. Look, Reggie, I need you to think really hard about what you saw. No, man. I remember because Harold made that joke about his handwriting getting worse. He signed it right there. Time for plan B. I pulled out my wallet and set $500 bills on the counter. Reggie, this ticket means everything to my family. My kid's future depends on it. His eyes went wide. What are you doing? $5,000, Reggie. Cash. Just tell the Lottery Commission you saw me sign that ticket. Color drained from his face. Are you trying to bribe me? I'm trying to save my family. I added more bills. $10,000. Think what you could do with $10,000. Nathan, stop. I'm not going to lie for you. Harold Cross is a good man, and I saw him sign that ticket. Desperation clawed at my throat. 15,000, 20. Come on, you've known my family for years. That's exactly why I can't do this. Your dad's been coming here 15 years. He's never been anything but honest. I won't betray that. You're betraying me. The words came out louder than intended. I'm offering you more money than you make in 6 months. There's no choice here, Nathan. There's just the truth. That's when Mara emerged from the back office, drawn by raised voices. No nonsense woman in her 50s managing this store since before I graduated high school. What's going on? Nathan's trying to get me to lie about who signed the winning lottery ticket, Reggie said quietly. Mara's expression hardened instantly. Get out! Get out of my store right now. As Mara, please just listen. I said get out. Harold Cross has been a customer here 15 years. Never caused problems, never tried to cheat anyone. And you want my employees to lie for you. Embonabant. The betrayal burned in my chest. These people had known me since I was a kid, and they were choosing a retired bus driver over me. "You're all making a mistake," I said, scooping money back into my wallet. "The only mistake is what you're trying to do to your own father," Mara replied. "Now leave before I call the police." I walked toward the door on unsteady legs, the bell chiming mockingly. Behind me, I could hear Mara comforting Reggie. Standing in the parking lot, cold March air cutting through my jacket, I realized something chilling. Everyone in this town respected Dad more than they'd ever respect me. But I wasn't done, not even close. Walking away from that store, I knew I had to try a different approach. Dr. Martinez had been our family physician for over a decade. If anyone would understand the situation I was facing, it would be him. The medical office smelled like antiseptic and old magazines. I sat rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd frame this. "Nathan, good to see you," Dr. Martinez said, leading me into his office. "How are Melody and the boys?" "They're fine. Actually, that's why I'm here. I'm worried about Dad." His eyebrows lifted. "Harold, what's concerning you?" "Lately he's been different, forgetful, making strange decisions. I think he might be showing early signs of dementia." Dr. Martinez frowned. "That's surprising. Harold was just in for his annual physical last month. His cognitive function was excellent. But these things can progress quickly. Right yesterday he claimed he won the lottery, but he can't remember buying the ticket. He's insisting I was involved somehow." The doctor's expression grew skeptical. "Harold told me about the lottery win when he called to update his emergency contact. He was completely lucid, gave me all the details clearly." "Nathan, are you sure you're not confused?" Heat rose in my cheeks. "I'm his son. I think I know when something's wrong. I've been Harold's physician for 12 years. He's one of the most mentally sharp 78-year-olds I treat. Could you do an evaluation, some tests?" "Nathan, I can't order psychiatric evaluations based on family disputes. If you're genuinely concerned, he'd need to come in voluntarily." "What if I told you he was a danger to himself? Is he—" We both knew the answer. "I can't help you with this, Nathan." I left feeling like the walls were closing in. But I wasn't giving up. Morrison and Associates had handled my divorce paperwork. Bill Morrison was practical. Surely he'd understand what was at stake. "Nathan Cross," Bill said, shaking my hand. "What brings you in?" "I need help with a family matter. Dad's mental competency." Bill's smile faded. "Go on." "Dad's showing signs of cognitive decline, making irrational decisions. I need someone to help establish he's not mentally fit to handle large financial decisions." "What kind of decisions?" "He's claiming ownership of a lottery ticket worth $10 million that belongs to me." Bill set down his coffee. "Nathan, I know your father. Harold Cross drove my kids to school for years. He's one of the most reliable, honest men I've ever met. People change. Age catches up. Has he been diagnosed with dementia? Any documented cognitive issues?" "Well, no, but then I can't help you. What you're describing sounds like a family dispute, not a competency issue. You haven't even met with him recently." "I saw him last week. We talked for 10 minutes about current events as grandkids. Nathan, your father's mind is fine." Another door slammed shut. I spent 2 days calling every lawyer in the county. Each conversation ended the same way: Harold Cross was well respected, and nobody believed he was anything other than completely competent. By Thursday evening, I was sitting outside Dad's apartment, watching him through his kitchen window. He moved with purpose, organized and deliberate. Even from a distance, he looked nothing like a man losing his mind. Everyone was against me: store clerks, doctors, lawyers. They all saw Harold Cross as some kind of saint and me as the ungrateful son. They didn't understand what was at stake. They didn't understand I was fighting for my children's future. But they'd left me no choice. Every door had closed in my face. There was only one option left. The bus depot at 6 in the morning was a lonely place. Gray concrete chain link fences and the smell of diesel fuel hanging in the cold air. I'd been waiting in my car for 20 minutes, watching the entrance, knowing Dad's routine better than my own. He appeared right on schedule, walking with that steady gait I remembered from childhood. Even at 78, he carried himself like a man who'd never doubted his place in the world. That confidence used to make me proud. Now it just made me angry. I got out of my car and intercepted him near the gate. "Hey, Dad." He stopped, unsurprised to see me. "Nathan, we need to talk." I figured we might. He adjusted his thermos and lunch bag, the same ones he'd carried for 32 years. "But I don't think there's much left to say." "There's everything to say. You have to stop this lawsuit. You're tearing our family apart." His brown eyes studied my face with the same patience he'd shown when I was 7 and trying to explain why I'd broken a neighbor's window. Son, I'm not the one who tore anything apart. This is about money, Dad. Just money, and I need it more than you do. No, Nathan, this is about right and wrong, and you know the difference even if you're pretending you don't. Frustration boiled over in my chest. Right and wrong? I'm trying to save my family. My kids are going to lose their house, their future, everything, because you're being stubborn about a piece of paper. That piece of paper represents something you used to understand. Honesty, integrity. The things I thought I taught you. You taught me to be practical. You taught me to take care of my family. I taught you to do both without sacrificing your soul. The words hit like physical blows, but I pushed forward. If you don't drop this case, I'll make you look pathetic in court. I'll tell them you're confused that your memory is going. I'll make everyone believe you're just a sad old man who can't face reality. Dad's expression didn't change. He just looked tired. You do what you think you have to do, son. I'll do what I know is right. Why are you doing this to me? The question came out more desperate than I'd intended. I'm your son. That's exactly why I'm doing this. His voice was gentle but firm. Because you're my son, and I won't watch you become someone I don't recognize. Think about Cole and Jude. Think about what this money could mean for them. I am thinking about them. He shifted his lunch bag to his other hand. I'm thinking about what kind of man their father is going to be. I'm thinking about what kind of example you're setting. And I'm thinking that maybe the best thing I can do for my grandsons is to show them that some things matter more than money. They matter more than your own son. You matter more than anything in this world, Nathan. That's why I can't let you do this. The depot was starting to come alive around us. Other drivers arriving, maintenance crews, checking buses, the normal rhythm of people going to work. Dad glanced at his watch. I need to get going. I'm volunteering at the food bank this morning. Dad, please, just think about what you're doing. Think about what you're taking away from us. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not disappointment, not anger, grief. I'm not taking anything away from you, son. You gave it away yourself. He walked past me toward the depot building, his footsteps echoing off the concrete. I wanted to call after him to say something that would fix this, that would bring back the father who used to believe I could do no wrong. But the words wouldn't come. I stood there watching him disappear into the building, his gray hair catching the morning light, his shoulders straight, despite everything I'd put him through. And I knew with a certainty that cut deeper than any physical pain that I'd just lost the best man I'd ever known. Not because of the lottery ticket, not because of the lawsuit, because of who I'd chosen to become. The State Lottery Commission building looked more imposing than I'd expected. Gray stone, tall windows, and an American flag snapping in the March wind. My lawyer, a tired-looking man named Peterson, who'd taken the case for a hefty retainer, walked beside me with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted we'd win. Remember, he said as we climbed the steps, stick to our story. Your father's memory isn't what it used to be. The ticket was a family purchase. We've got this. But looking at the building, I felt something I hadn't expected: dread. The hearing room was smaller than I'd imagined, just a conference table surrounded by chairs and a recording device in the center. Agent Patel, the man I'd spoken with on the phone, sat across from us with a thick folder. Dad was already there with his attorney Diane Foster, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who looked like she'd never lost a case she believed in. Dad didn't look at me when I walked in. He sat straight-backed, hands folded, wearing the same navy suit he'd worn to my wedding. The sight of it made my chest tight. This hearing is to determine the rightful owner of lottery ticket number 8472394, purchased March 8th. Agent Patel began. Mr. Cross, your representative may present your case. Peterson stood up, launching into the speech we'd rehearsed. Family purchase, shared resources, elderly confusion. The words sounded hollow in the sterile room. Then it was Diane Foster's turn. Agent Patel, we've prepared a comprehensive timeline of events. She opened a folder that seemed impossibly thick. First, the depot verification showing Mr. Harold Cross clocked out at 9:41 p.m. on March 8th. She slid a document across the table. Official letterhead supervisor signature timestamp. Second, the Quick Mart manager's statement confirming Mr. Cross purchased the ticket at approximately 9:12 p.m. lane 2 with cashier Reggie Flores as witness. Another document, store letterhead manager signature camera policy details. The third the river First Bank ATM vestibule camera, which faces directly toward the Quick Mart entrance, confirming Mr. Cross's presence at the time of purchase. A photograph of Dad walking into the store, timestamp, clearly visible. And finally, this photograph taken by Mr. Cross of the ticket on his kitchen counter metadata, showing his apartment address and the correct time. The image appeared on a small screen, the lottery ticket on a checkered dish towel, numbers clearly visible. I stared at the evidence spread across the table, every detail accounted for, every possible question answered. This wasn't the work of a confused old man. This was the methodical preparation of someone who'd spent 32 years following procedures, documenting everything, leaving nothing to chance. Now, Agent Patel said, "We have the sanitized image from the disputed ticket." A black and white photograph filled the screen. The back of the lottery ticket magnified to show every pen stroke. 2 signatures were clearly visible. The top signature shows consistent ballpoint pressure, characteristic of someone signing at a counter. Agent Patel explained. The lower signature is lighter made with a different pen type, and our analysis indicates it was added later in time. Later in time. The words echoed in my head as I stared at my own signature crowded below Dad's neat handwriting. Even in the grayscale image you could see the difference. His signature looked natural, confident. Mine looked like what it was, a desperate addition made after the fact. Based on this evidence, Agent Patel continued, "The commission determines that Harold Cross is the rightful owner of the winning ticket." The room fell silent except for the hum of the recording device. Peterson was saying something about appeals about challenging the decision, but his voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. I couldn't stop staring at that image, at the undeniable proof of what I'd done. Dad had known. From the moment I'd pushed him out into the rain, he'd known exactly what he needed to do. While I was planning bribes and lies and desperate schemes, he was quietly, methodically building an unshakable case. He'd beaten me not with anger or revenge, but with truth. The hearing ended with handshakes and paperwork. Dad finally looked at me as we prepared to leave, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not disappointment, not anger, pity. I followed Peterson out of the building in a daze, the March wind cutting through my jacket like ice. Standing on the steps of the Lottery Commission building, watching Dad walk away with his attorney, I finally understood what the word defeated really meant. The defeat at the commission should have been the end of it. But lying in bed that night, staring at the ceiling while Melody slept beside me, I couldn't accept that I had lost my father forever. There had to be a way to fix this, to explain, to make him understand. I started calling the next morning. The phone rang 6 times before going to voicemail. Dad's voice calm and measured. "You've reached Harold Cross. Please leave a message." "Dad, it's me, Nathan. I know you're probably angry, but we need to talk. Please call me back." He didn't. I called again that afternoon, and again that evening. By the end of the week, I'd left 12 messages, each one more desperate than the last. "Dad, I'm sorry. I know I made mistakes, but I'm still your son. Please just give me 5 minutes to explain. The boys are asking about you. Cole wants to show you his science project." The phone rang, but no one ever answered. Saturday morning, I drove to his apartment on Willow Street, the same building where I'd helped him move in after Mom died, where I'd spent countless Sunday dinners listening to his stories about the bus routes and difficult passengers. I knocked on his door for 10 minutes. "Dad, I know you're in there. Your car's in the parking lot. Please just open the door." Nothing. I tried the buzzer. I called his name through the mail slot. I even asked Mrs. Chen next door if she'd seen him. "Oh yes, Harold's fine," she said with a concerned look. "But he told me he's not receiving visitors right now. Family troubles, he said." Family troubles. Is that what I'd become? I sent text messages, long, rambling apologies that tried to explain the desperation I'd felt, the fear of losing everything, the stupid decisions that had spiraled out of control. My phone showed they'd been delivered, but no response ever came. The following Tuesday, I waited at the depot. I knew his volunteer schedule at the food bank, knew he'd be there by 7 a.m. I parked across the street and watched him arrive carrying the same thermos and lunch bag he'd used for 30 years. When he saw my car, he stopped walking. For a moment, I thought he might come over, might give me the chance I'd been praying for. Instead, he turned around and walked back to his car. I followed him to a different entrance, but by the time I got there, he'd already disappeared inside. When I tried to enter, a security guard politely but firmly told me I wasn't authorized to be on the property. That night, Melody found me sitting in the dark kitchen, staring at my phone. "It's still no word?" she asked gently. I shook my head. "And Nathan, you've been trying for 3 weeks. Maybe Maybe you need to accept that some things can't be fixed. He's my father, and you're his son, but you hurt him in a way that—" She sat down beside me. "Honey, you tried to steal from him. You tried to make people think he was losing his mind. You pushed him out of our house into the rain." "I know what I did." "Then you know why he won't talk to you." Cole appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Dad, why are you sad?" I looked at my 7-year-old son, this innocent boy who still believed his father was a hero, and I couldn't find the words. "Where's Grandpa?" Cole continued. "He was supposed to come to my soccer game last week. Grandpa's busy right now, buddy, but he's never missed a game before." Melody scooped Cole up and carried him back to bed, but his question echoed in the empty kitchen. 3 weeks of phone calls, 3 weeks of unanswered texts, 3 weeks of driving past his apartment hoping to catch a glimpse of forgiveness. But Dad had made his choice with the same quiet determination he'd brought to everything else in his life. Silence became the only answer I ever received. The letter arrived on a Thursday morning, 3 weeks after the commission hearing. Official letterhead from First National Bank. I almost threw it away, assuming it was another overdue notice. Instead, it was something I never expected. "Dear Mr. Cross, we are writing to inform you that educational and health trust funds have been established for Cole Nathan Cross and Jude Harold Cross, with initial funding of $2.5 million each." I read the words 3 times before they sank in. Trust funds, for my boys, $5 million total. I scanned frantically for my name, beneficiary Cole Nathan Cross, trustee First National Bank, successor trustee Diane Foster. My name appeared nowhere. The funds would pay directly to schools' doctors-approved expenses. No cash distributions to parents. No access except for the boys when they turned 25. Dad had cut me out completely while ensuring his grandsons would never want for anything. "What is it?" Melody asked, seeing my expression. I handed her the letter without speaking. She read it twice, eyes growing wide. "Nathan, he did it without me. Made sure the boys would be taken care of, but without me." "Can you blame him after everything that happened?" I sank into a chair. "He doesn't trust me with their future. Would you, if you were him?" The honesty hit like a physical blow. If someone had tried to steal from me, destroy my reputation, push me into the rain while my grandchildren watched, would I trust that person with millions meant for those same grandchildren? "He still loves them," I said quietly. "Of course he does. They're innocent in all this. But not me." Melody sat beside me. "Nathan, your father just ensured Cole and Jude will go to any college, never worry about medical bills, have every opportunity. He did that while you were trying to take everything from him. I was trying to provide for my family, and so was he, just differently. I thought about Cole's soccer games Dad would never attend again, about Jude's bedtime stories that would go untold, about the grandfather my boys were losing because of my choices. But their futures were secure, their educations guaranteed. Dad had found a way to love his grandsons completely while protecting them from their father's failures. That evening, I watched the boys sleep. Cole clutched his dinosaur, the one Dad gave him for his 5th birthday. Jude held the rocket ship we'd built together last summer, before everything went wrong. They would grow up without grandfather's Sunday pancakes, without his patient homework help, without his stories about driving city buses. They would lose those irreplaceable moments because of what I'd done. But they would never struggle like I had. Never lie awake wondering about college costs or medical bills. They would have opportunities I could never give them. Dad had sacrificed his own heart to secure their futures. Looking at my sleeping sons, I finally understood what unconditional love really meant. It meant protecting someone from your own pain. It meant ensuring their well-being even when it cost you everything. Dad had shown me the true meaning of unconditional love. 6 months have passed since that night I pushed my father into the rain. 6 months since I became a stranger to myself and lost the best man I've ever known. I'm telling you this story not for sympathy, but as a warning, because some mistakes can't be undone. I've had a lot of time to think about who I was that night and who I've become since. The man who grabbed that lottery ticket wasn't really me. Or maybe he was the truest version of me, the one I'd been hiding behind years of pretending to be decent. Greed does that. It strips away everything you think you are and shows you what you're actually made of. I told myself I was protecting my family, but I was really protecting my pride. I couldn't stand the thought of my father succeeding where I had failed. I couldn't bear the idea that a retired bus driver might be better at providing for my children than their own father. The truth is, I was jealous. Jealous of his contentment, his dignity, his ability to sleep peacefully at night, knowing he'd lived an honest life. I had none of those things, and instead of working to earn them, I tried to steal his. "It's over for you, old man. This is mine now." Those words haunt me every day, not just because of their cruelty, but because of how easily they came. Like I'd been practicing them my whole life, waiting for the moment when I could finally put my father in what I thought was his place. But Harold Cross never needed to be put anywhere. He was exactly where he belonged, on higher ground than his son. I see that now when it's too late to matter. Dad taught me lessons my whole life, but the final one was the hardest. He showed me that integrity isn't something you can fake or buy or steal. It's something you build day by day, choice by choice, year by year. And once you tear it down, you can't just rebuild it with good intentions and apologies. Some bridges once burned stay burned. The irony isn't lost on me. I destroyed my relationship with my father, trying to secure my children's future, and in the end, he secured their future better than I ever could have. Cole and Jude will go to the best schools, receive the best health care, have opportunities I could never have provided. But they'll grow up knowing their father chose money over family. They'll grow up knowing their grandfather loved them enough to protect them from their own father's failures. That's the legacy I created. Not the one I intended, but the one I earned. Melody and I are trying to rebuild what's left of our marriage. The foreclosure was avoided, barely. And I found work at a warehouse across town. It's honest work, the kind Dad would respect, though he'll never know about it. The boys ask about their grandfather less frequently now, but when they do, the questions cut deep. Why doesn't Grandpa come to my games anymore? Did we do something wrong? Is Grandpa mad at us? How do you explain to a 7-year-old that sometimes adults make choices so terrible that love isn't enough to fix them? I drive past Dad's apartment, sometimes hoping to catch a glimpse of him, hoping for some sign that time has softened the damage I caused. But I never see him, and maybe that's for the best. Maybe some wounds are meant to stay open to remind us of what we're capable of when we lose our way. People talk about rock bottom, like it's a place you visit temporarily. For me, it's become a permanent address. The place where I learned that there are some prices too high to pay, some lines too sacred to cross. I lost my father trying to steal his money. I lost my integrity trying to protect my pride. I lost everything that mattered trying to gain something that in the end was never mine to take. If this story prevents even one person from making the same mistake I did then, maybe some good can come from the worst thing I've ever done. So here I am, sharing the most shameful chapter of my life with strangers on the internet. Why? Because betrayal stories like mine happen every day. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear what greed can cost you. This family drama stories isn't unique. Across America, sons are choosing money over fathers, brothers are turning on brothers, and families are destroying themselves over dollars and cents. But every betrayal story has the same ending: somebody loses everything that actually matters. Here's what I learned and what I wish someone had told me before that terrible night in March. Don't be like me. Don't let desperation turn you into someone you don't recognize. I thought I was saving my family, but I was really destroying it. The man who pushed his father into the rain wasn't the man Melody married or the father Cole and Jude deserved. Parents don't enable your children's worst instincts. Dad could have given me that ticket to avoid conflict. He could have chosen peace over principle. Thank God he didn't. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's destructive behavior, even when that someone is your own child. Understand that integrity once lost is nearly impossible to rebuild. I can work honest jobs for the rest of my life, volunteer at soup kitchens, donate to charity, but I'll never be the man I was before I chose greed over love. Some stains don't wash out. Remember that God sees everything. In my desperation, I forgot that every choice we make is witnessed by the Almighty. I thought I could lie steal and manipulate my way to security. But God's justice doesn't work on our timeline, and His judgment is always perfect. This family drama stories taught me that real wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in the relationships you build and maintain. Dad was richer than I ever understood, not because of his lottery winnings, but because of his character. He lived his life in a way that honored God and respected others. Treasure the people who love you unconditionally. Call your parents. Hug your children. Tell the important people in your life how much they mean to you. Don't wait until it's too late like I did. For those walking through their own betrayal stories, remember that redemption is possible even when relationships aren't. God can forgive what humans cannot, and sometimes that has to be enough. My boys will grow up knowing their grandfather loved them enough to protect their futures, even when it meant cutting ties with their father. That's a legacy of love I could never have given them through theft or manipulation. Cole and Jude will have opportunities I never dreamed of, funded by a man who understood that sometimes protecting the people you love means making the hardest choices imaginable. If this family drama stories resonated with you, if you've seen greed destroy families, or if you're struggling with your own betrayal stories, I hope you'll share your thoughts in the comments below. Sometimes the most powerful healing happens when we stop hiding our failures and start learning from them together. And if stories like this, real, raw, and honest, matter to you, consider following this channel for more conversations about the choices that define us and the God who offers redemption even in our darkest moments. There's always hope, even for someone like me.